Headphone highlights. Hello, I'm Master Marslander, and today I have two really excellent IEMs, both coming in at about $40 a piece. But they come in with very different approaches to their architecture and design. We have first the Tinhifi C2 2025 Mech Warrior and the Hidizs ST2 Pro. What exactly makes these IEMs so different from each other? Well, let's find out. The C2 Mech Warrior. Look at that. Oh my god. These are so badass. Look at these things. That industrial design is amazing. Look at that. I mean, it's a love it or hate it sort of design, but oh my goodness, they really nail the kind of mech theme here. This really tickles my love for the likes of Armored Core. Oh man, they're so freaking cool looking. I love the design of these shells. So freaking industrial. Oh, very, very cool. So these are an all aluminum shell. They are a 10mm PU plus LCP composite diaphragm dynamic driver. They are 32 ohms of impedance, 104 decibels of sensitivity, incorporate the beloved 2-pin system for your connector, and otherwise is a pretty simple IEM design outside of, obviously it looking just really, really industrial and cool. Taking a closer look at the shells here, again, they are full aluminum and they have just the coolest shape and design and all these angles. They're CNC machined beautifully. They're so flippin' cool. And then on the back here, we do have R and L, like really, really clearly marked. I really appreciate that. It makes it real easy to know which driver is which. And yeah, man, they're just really, really cool. Take a look at the nozzle so you can see that. It's a nice size nozzle, not too big, not too small, and fits just your standard ear tips. So yeah, design-wise, excellent. And despite them being these really solid pieces of aluminum, they're very, very light. Not the lightest IEMs, but certainly not by any means the heaviest IEMs I have used here in the studio. They're excellent. They feel great in the hand here. So all around, excellent design, excellent theming. They get points for theming because man, did they nail the theming. They're just cool. Super cool. But otherwise, a fairly simple IEM, not really much different architecturally speaking than most IEMs. Now let's take a look at the ST2 Pros by Hidizs. Look at that. I know the exposure is a little bright there, but hopefully that comes across. It's a lovely kind of gold, almost rose gold texture on the badges here. They look really, really lovely. And they are these beautiful, almost transparent, mostly transparent, I'd say, shells. So you can actually see the architecture inside. See if I can get a good look at that for you. It's super cool. Look at all that. I love it when you can see the actual mechanisms and doodads and all that cool stuff. But yeah, these are super cool as well. The shells themselves are a clear resin, as you can see, and then the badges here are aluminum. These are also labeled L and R, but it's a lot more difficult to find. You have to go right to the edge here where it says Hidizs Nebula, and right next to the nebula is where you're going to see your right indicator or your left indicator. So doesn't jump out and bite you in the face the way that it does with the Mech Warriors, but hey, it's still labeled at least, and I can appreciate that. The Nebulas incorporate a 10mm dual magnet dynamic driver architecture. They are 32 ohms of impedance, 108 decibels of sensitivity, and incorporate the 2-pin connector as well. However, you can also, as an option, get these in the MMCX connector if you so desire. So on the surface here, they seem pretty similar. Same drivers, same size drivers. The shells are obviously very different in terms of their design, but same connectors. What's different here? They seem pretty similar. Well, the difference is going to actually be in the cable. Here with the Mech Warrior, we have this basic, standard, mostly nicely made cable. We'll talk more about the cable in a little bit, but it's just kind of a standard little IEM cable. However, with the ST Pro, we get this, with this being the key difference right here. This is a DSP corrected built-in DAC into the cable. This is super cool. With this cable, which is USB-C, and as opposed to, 3.5mm standard like you have with the Tinhifi, and as you can see through the cool little windows, both on the front and the back, there's a whole PCB in there because this is indeed a built-in DAC for the IEMs. Super freaking cool. And because of this, because we have the DAC built into the cable, there is no need for a dongle. None at all. Just plug this directly into your phone as long as it accepts a USB Type-C, and you're good to go. You're done. That's it. Very, very cool. So what we have in here, man, seeing that window is so freaking neat. What we have in here is the ES9 281 AC Pro DAC chip that supports sample rates from PCM 32-bit, 384 kilohertz, and native DSD, both 64 and 128. Built in. That's what's so cool about this thing. And yes, of course, as you can also see down there, it is also MQA supported if you really care about that. And then on top of it being just a really cool little DAC, it also has some power output, 70 milliwatts by 70 milliwatts at 32 ohms. So once again, no need for a dongle with this thing. It actually puts out some output power. The distortion level of this little gizmo is 0.0012%, so it is super, super clean. It has an SNR of 118 dB and a DNR of 122 dB. So yes, the big primary difference between these two IEMs is the method of which they connect to your sources. In this case, let's say I want to listen to something on my phone. In the typical fashion that we have following here with the Mech Warrior, with the C2 here, you have your 3.5mm connection on your cable, which means that if I want to connect this to my phone, which of course no longer accepts a headphone jack, I need to use a dongle. Something like this EPZ TP35 would do an excellent job. And yeah, we'll talk about this someday soon. But how this would have to work is our dongle would have to connect to our phone, and then the IEM would have to connect directly to the dongle to be able to use and listen to the phone. But the way that the ST2 Pro utilizes its cable with its built-in DAC, this isn't necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out now, put you over here. If I want to listen to the Nebulas, all I gotta do, boop, just like that. And now this is good to go. I have not only a pretty excellent DAC that has great sample rates, but also extra power put into it, extra output to really bring up volume without a whole lot of distortion. So yeah, just very different methods of connecting your IEMs. One that's a bit more standard that would incorporate some other exterior device, and one that is just kind of ready to go. Now, of course, while the 3.5mm may not work necessarily well with my phone here because it doesn't have a headphone jack, this is a much more standard connection and something that's going to be able to be used on, all my desktop amps if I really want to. Not really such the case with the ST Pro. So you gotta, kind of make your decision here. Do you want something that's really easy to use on external devices, or in other kind of more audio-centric devices, or do you want something that's going to be extremely easy to use with just like your phone and just something really, really simple? You don't want to have to carry around a dongle. Boom, built in. So that's the big difference we have here in terms of how they are used and implemented in your devices. All right, now let's go ahead and look at the accessory packages included with these IEMs. Starting with the Mech Warrior, which, wouldn't you know, has a pretty cool looking little Mech Warrior right there on the box. On the back of the box, we get a little breakdown of our IEM. Very, very cool. Cool stuff. Hip, hip, hooray. Let's go ahead and break this guy open and see what is all included. Camera's not doing a great job of showing this off, but there is just a subtle little Tinhifi logo. There it is right here on this very, very white box. Open up that white box. That's where your Mech Warriors would sit. And then in there, you're going to find some generic ear tips, your Tinhifi, standard Tinhifi card, some instructional literature, and that's it. That's really all you get for accessories, which is a bit of a bummer because Tinhifi is known for kind of going above and beyond for the packaging and presentation of their IEM. Something like even the T2, it comes with a really nice package, a really nice case, and also includes a very lovely carrying case, which unfortunately the Mech Warrior does not. What it does come with, though, is this cable. We'll take a look at the cable. First of all, the connectors are nice. Again, 2-pin connector here, and they insert there relatively deep, so it's not a surface connection. They actually get inserted into the shell here and then seated in there really, really nicely and tightly. It's a good sealed connection. Looks really nice. The cables themselves are also labeled. We have L for the left side, and of course we have right for the right channel as well. It is a very thin cable. So going into the splits here into our connection, we do have a little microphone here. I have not bothered to test the microphone. I don't have any faith in that, but that's fine. At least you have the option. Coming all the way down to the splitter, it is just a simple rubbery splitter here, and then goes into this woven cable. And, you know, it looks okay. It is, again, though, very, very thin. And then here's your end connector with the Tinhifi logo there. And then we have a 4-pole, 3.5mm to incorporate that built-in microphone. That is right angled, but, you know, still, it's functional. It's fine. The only really problem I have with the cable is how thin it is. And as a result, this thing can tangle up really, really easily. And again, it's a little bit of a disappointment because Tinhifi is known for having really excellent cables for their IEMs. Again, something like the, you know, Tin T2s or any of the Tin T series have really nice cables, but this is just a little, I don't know. I mean, it's perfectly functional. It tangles up a little bit and it bothers me. Moving over to the ST Pro, we have a simple box that has our image of our IEMs on it. And not a whole lot else. You do have a little bit of a breakdown of kind of your specs, but otherwise there's really nothing to the box. Bit of a boring box, and also kind of a pain in the ass to open, but I'll do my best here. And then in the box, boop, we have where our IEMs would be seated. And then below that, we get our simple, standard Hidizs little leather case here. It is just a simple, you know, squeeze to open, drop in your IEMs, close it. Just a little bag. No, again, no carrying case, but at least you do get this little bag, which the Mech Warriors didn't even offer that. So that's something. You get your standard ear tips as well. You get this nicely made little USB-A adapter, so C to A, so it's easy to plug this into like your laptop or your PC, whatever else. So that's a nice little addition. And then you just get your little pieces of paper. So again, not a whole lot in the package here, but at least, you know, having the inclusion of the bag here is a step up than what you get out of the Mech Warrior, at least. But of course, the bigger kind of important accessory you get is the cable here, which I will once again show off the DAC here, which just looks awesome as hell. Look at that. It's so freaking cool. But the cable itself, I have, again, kind of mixed feelings about. So we do have the 2-pin connector, which is a little bit more of a right angle here. It does not insert into the shell the way that it does with the Mech Warrior. It is just a surface connection like so. Easy to get it on, easy to get it off. Not the snuggest fit, but snug enough that I don't really worry about these things flying out or anything like that. Going from the IEMs, we have again a fairly thin cable, blue and black, coming down. And again, we do have yet another microphone. Again, I haven't bothered to even test it. I don't have a lot of faith in it, but it's there if you need it. Coming all the way down to our splitter, it is just kind of a basic plastic splitter, but it looks clean. And then when it comes into this, you know, admittedly thicker dual weave of the main portion of the cable, terminating down to our USB-C DAC here. Now, the biggest problem I have with this cable is, yes, it also has a problem of getting tangled up, but there's a design flaw to this package. And it's one that's easy to fix, very easy to fix. You could do it yourself, no problem. But as you see, the cable comes with this little Velcro tie, as many standard IEMs do. That in itself isn't a big deal. And again, easy to remove. But the problem is that this thing sticks to the damn cable. Now that, ooh, I hate that. I hate that so much. Because if I, you know, for any reason have to, you know, bundle up this cable in any way, all of a sudden, it becomes this horrible hodgepodge tangled mess of this thing sticking to itself. I mean, look, oh God, look at that. It's awful. It's so awful. Again, it's an easy fix. I know I'm being nitpicky here. Easy fix. Just take the dang Velcro off. No big deal. But it makes me wonder, like, why did you not think about that? Why even include it? Why would you? Oh man, it's like, oh, I hate it. I hate it. And not just because it, tangles it up, but also if it keeps doing this over and over and over again, you're going to end up like fraying the hell out of your cable. And I don't want to do that. No, this shouldn't be part of this package at all. They should just not include this because it's bad. It's a bad idea. It's a bad design. I shouldn't have to worry about this. Ugh. But anyway, yeah, package is just a little bit better than the Mech Warriors. But again, you're not really getting a whole lot in here. Okay, let's go ahead and really quickly go over the fit and comfort for both of these IEMs, starting with the Mech Warriors. So the isolation is already, I haven't even got them fully seated yet. Isolation is fantastic. Isolation is really, really solid. My voice is extremely muffled. I can no longer hear the hum of anything, any electronics in this office, in this studio space. So the isolation is great, even with the stock tips. The cable is, again, so tiny and light that I don't even really feel it. And the IEMs themselves, even though they do have that all metal, all aluminum chassis, they're fine. They don't feel heavy at all in the ear. And the shape of them is actually fairly ergonomic. At least for my ears, they fit in here great. I don't feel like they're going to be flying out. I don't feel like they're putting any kind of weird pressure anywhere on the ear fit. They just fit in there lovely. It's a really good, solid fit. They're not loose at all. It's a really excellent, comfortable IEM, which is surprising for how like industrial they appear. So yeah, these are actually, for me, quite excellent. Really, really good fit, really good comfort. Stock. It's great. Going into the Nebulas here, which have already gotten all tangled up. Oh my God, there we go. Okay, the Nebulas. Again, the cable is basically weightless, no big deal. Okay, so they are obviously a little bit lighter, being made of resin rather than solid metal, but not that much lighter. They really don't feel that much different. And the isolation is good. They do fit in here pretty well, but the isolation is different. It doesn't feel as sort of the chamber feel that I get from the Mech Warriors. These are doing a very good job of doing passive isolation. I don't really hear any of my electronic devices humming or anything like that. But my voice is a lot less muffled. My voice is a lot less isolated than it is with the Mech Warriors. But otherwise, pretty dang close. So the cable here, unfortunately, does have just a little bit of microphonics. It's really not a big deal. I mean, if I'm just kind of loosely banging it around my shirt, I don't really hear it. It's only if I'm deliberately rubbing against my shirt that I really hear any microphonics. So otherwise, it's totally fine. The fit overall, the shape of these, the ergonomic shape of these, I don't feel like it fits quite as well as it does in my ear than the Mech Warriors do, but it still does a good enough job. It's not going to go flying out of my ear. It's not getting loose from me talking. And the standard basic tips are still doing a great job of sticking in there and being isolated and all that. So it's still a good fit, a great fit. I will say though, over longer listening sessions, I do get just a little bit, and I emphasize this, just a little bit more fatigue from the Nebulas than I do with the Mech Warriors. But otherwise, they're pretty on par in terms of comfort, and weight is a non-issue. Cable is pretty much a non-issue. It's a good fit. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about sound. Again, taking a key notice of the very different kind of architecture and approach to connectivity that these IEMs have. We'll start with the Nebulas. And I will say outright, first and foremost, the little DAC here is awesome. It does a really excellent job of producing really nice quality sampling rates. And I have no complaints about that. And in terms of its power output, it made these plenty loud. Really, I mean, I had no need for an amplifier, just plugging these right into my phone. It did an excellent job making these nice and loud and nice, clean, clear crisp and lovely audio through that DAC. So the DAC itself is fantastic. Now let's get into the IEMs themselves. They have a warm and smooth sound signature with a fun, but also very responsible V-shaped tuning. They have nice bass extension with some good median thumpy sub bass. But where you're going to end up getting most of your impact is in that mid bass. These have tremendous amounts of mid bass. It is a hugely explosive experience. The mid bass is super punchy and impactful and resonates in your chest. The bass is just slamming. It's relatively well resolved. It's not the most clean bass, but it's better than most. And it does actually a pretty decent job of not bleeding or blooming too much into your mid-range, though it does have a tendency to get a little out of control. Guitars and other string instruments come out very, very clearly with nice kind of crisp twangs to them, while also offering you some warmth in like your horns and snares. The vocals are a little bit warm, but otherwise offer a fairly nice timbre to them that makes them sound natural while also a little bit extra musical. They're also very forward and definitely center stage. The high mids have some nice snap to them and good clean hits in the attacks, and then it blends really pretty seamlessly into your treble range. The treble range is a little bit rolled off, which makes them very easy to listen to. They're very relaxed, though maybe you are losing a little bit of kind of more of that really high-end definition and nuance. But even with that treble roll-off and missing out on some of those more finer nuanced details, you get lots of vibrance in the treble range, and it provides this almost satin-like texture to it that's just really, really fun and relaxing and soft and lovely, but also provides enough detail in the high end that you don't really feel like you're missing out on much. Sound staging is awesome. It's extremely wide and spacious with plenty of air, and it just is super crazy immersive. The imaging complements the staging by being fairly well precise and directional. It is pretty much all around you. With their V-shaped tuning, they are a blast to listen to. They're really dynamic, very fun, very bombastic, and overall just an extremely fun IEM that can hit really hard when it wants to and leaves a huge smile on my face. Excellent. Now let's talk about the Mech Warrior. Now I did primarily test the Mech Warrior using this little dongle right here, the EPZ TP35, which we are going to review, so you should subscribe so you don't miss out on that. The Mech Warrior, despite its appearance, actually provides a lot more of a natural sound. It's a lot more kind of almost neutral. The bass extension is solid. It does offer a little taste of sub bass, but it does leave me wanting a little bit more. It doesn't reach quite as far as the Nebulas. The mid bass is very different with the Mech Warriors than it is with the Nebulas. It is extremely well controlled and definitely separates itself from the rest of your frequency range. Similar to the Nebulas, the bass of the Mech Warriors also resonates in your chest and is very satisfying, but overall the bass is a little bit more flat and not quite as engaging as it is with the Nebulas. It is a more neutral mid bass, but maybe not quite as resolving as a mid bass as you get in the Nebulas. The mid-range, though, is truly excellent. It's vibrant, clean, clear, and provides just a real great natural tonality to it, while also offering a lot more kind of nuance that you didn't get from the Nebula. The Mech Warriors also offer a bit more speed, especially in that mid-range, that gives them just this little bit extra kind of snap and crack to them that feels more resolving. Vocals are actually more forward in the Mechs than they are in the Nebulas, and coupling that with the extra speed and clarity that you get in the mid-range out of these, vocals sound really realistic. It's very impressive. The high mids immediately showcase a brighter presentation than the Nebulas overall. The speed and snap that you get out of the C2s helps to elevate those high mids so they just sound and feel more defined and responsive. Listening to Medevolution by Rodrigo y Gabriela, those dueling guitars just snapped and slammed like they were under my skin. What a wild sensation. It's maybe not the best track for really clinical listening, but oh my gosh, was it a freaking joy to listen to. The treble range is a lot brighter than it is in the Nebula. That gives you these wonderfully crisp trills and sparkling highs. There's just this great amount of texture up at the top end that feels almost brittle, like it's ready to snap. Now the treble range can get, for some people, I would think maybe a little too bright, a little too fatiguing. For me though, it was a non-issue. I never felt like they were too sibilant. I never felt like they were too sharp. In fact, the way that it presented the treble range, it offered more kind of detail and nuance that I felt I was missing from the Nebula. So I really, really enjoyed it. Sound staging is quite a bit more narrow than it is in Nebula. So these are a lot more of an intimate IEM. They do offer just a little bit of space, maybe a little bit more than kind of your standard IEM would, but otherwise it's a fairly, at least compared to the Nebula, a more intimate listening experience. Imaging is also quite good with pretty good distinct layering, good precision, but because it is a bit more of a neutral sound signature compared to the Nebula, it's maybe not as aggressively bombastic and heavy sounding and dynamic as the Nebulas, but I still think there's enough here that they don't sound sterile and boring. There's still enough kind of energy and fun going on here that you can still sit there and enjoy yourself. Overall, the C2 Mech Warrior here is a more natural and neutral sounding IEM that, while leaning a little bit bright, can still keep you moving with its impressive kicks and attacks. Whichever direction you choose to go, both of these IEMs are truly incredible for their price range. $40 for this sound performance is kind of nutty. And you kind of get your pick of which way you want to go, but you're not going to be disappointed, I don't think, either way, because the price to performance is genuinely, ooh, it's good. The industrial mech-like design of the C2 Mech Warrior here is just so flippin' cool. It really satisfies my like 1990s Armored Core nerdiness. And the built-in DAC for the Nebula here is beautifully implemented and performs astonishingly well. You will find links to both of these IEMs in the description, but do note that the Nebula is actually being offered as a Kickstarter campaign right now. And early backers can grab the Nebula here for $39 right now. So this is the best time to grab it if you think you want one, so I suggest you go check it out. A quick thank you to Tinhifi and Hidizs for offering these IEMs to us for this review. We appreciate you. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll be seeing you again very soon.